Hey yo guys, how are you doing? Today we are checking out 10 plus PlayStation 5 co-op games you can play with your best buddies. From classics to underrated hidden gems. And you guys know the drill. Grab yourself some pizza, kick back and make yourself comfortable, and let's get the kick out of gaming.
Let's kick off this list with a classic game first, Quake 2 Enhanced. I can't say no to a good boomer shooter with a co-op campaign, and one of the OGs that flew under my radar back in the day was Quake 2. Good thing is, we got a remake for modern consoles recently, called Quake 2 Enhanced. So I finally have the chance to blast through hordes of alien goons. In this version of the future, mankind is at war with a hostile alien race called the Strogg. So we are taking the war to their home world, where our retaliation fails hard and we are the only survivors. Outnumbered and outgunned, we have to fight our way through fortified military installations and shut down the enemy's war machine from the inside. The lone space marines smoking their way through alien hordes is a narrative that won't win any prizes, but we've always got a goal in mind, and what really counts is the fun you have with your buddy when playing through this non-stop action fest in co-op. Thanks to a great mix of war machinery in our hands, we are able to blast most of these mutant goons with ease. From powerful shotguns, grenades and rocket launchers to the railgun, which is the best gun in the game and fantastic for sniping across the brown levels. The gameplay still carries the speedy lightweight combat that makes older first-person shooters still pop today. The careful placement of enemies, the simple but effective puzzles and the amount of power-ups scattered through the levels just feel right. Overall, this is one of the most enjoyable 90s shooters with a ton of content. The whole game has its own feel and style to it. I have to say, this remaster is the definitive Quake 2 experience. If you didn't care much for Quake 2 before, now is the time to give it a second chance with a friend. There are even some PvP modes to duke it out. And when you're done with it and want to have some lighthearted fun leveling whole cities while controlling a giant monster, then check out Gigabash. What's more fun than setting your differences aside and forming the perfect monster team up to take on other titans in a brawl? Not much, I would argue. Set in a world where giant monsters are worshipped and feared, Gigabash is undoubtedly the prettiest monster melee game so far. Levels full of destructible buildings, plants, cars, ships, just waiting to be trampled all over. On top of that, there is a good level variety from cities to the frozen Arctic, and we can choose between 10 titans. When it comes to the gameplay, Gigabash is a simple pick up and play game. Each monster has a melee attack, a special attack and the ability to jump, dash and grab. If you hold on either the melee or special attack button, you can unleash a secondary attack. My biggest gripe has nothing to do with co-op, but only 4 of the monsters have their own story mode and the whole thing can be finished in around 4 hours. Good thing though is that this is where the multiplayer fun starts, and I have to give Gigabash credit for nailing the fun monster combat, since we haven't had a good giant monster fighting game since the PS2 era. In the end, if you like giant monster fights, this is definitely a fun game to play with your friends. I recommend grabbing it when it's on a budget price and with the official Godzilla DLC monsters. Another game that is a blast to play with friends and costs just a few bucks is Strange Brigade. I'll start with the bad news. You definitely don't want to play this game with randoms. It makes for a mediocre experience. Now with that out of the way, I absolutely recommend this game to anyone with 1 or up to 3 friends, because then Strange Brigade unleashes its full potential and becomes a really fun co-op experience. At the core, it's a third-person shooter that breaks up rounds of fast-paced action with some easy adventure-style puzzles. Jumping between mindless killing and puzzle solving might sound irritating at first, but I found it to be really engaging. The game overall has this very old old school feeling to it. Not just the 1930s setting and visuals, but it has a really nice overall sense of adventure and arcade action, especially once the game starts throwing you into these massive arenas swarmed with goons and giant bosses, where you have to memorize their attack patterns and certain weak points, and you really have to work together as a team to take them down. Before every level there is a short introduction cinematic about the main mission, and then you drop straight into the action. The story is a bit undercooked and just an excuse to travel to some nice locations and loot some treasures, but it works well enough. One issue that Strange Brigade really suffers from is that this is not a single player game. As a solo player, mowing down row after row of zombies gets tedious fast. The announcer commenting on your actions and making fun of it did make for a good time, but overall I highly recommend playing it with other people, because it adds chaos and movement to the battlefield. And with 4 guns firing, the enemies dropped and levels zipped by. I grabbed this when it was on sale and I didn't expect much of it, but it's actually a really fun shooting and treasure hunting experience. Overall, this is an old school adventure type game, which I really dig. When it comes to gameplay, it's basically Sniper Elite with skeletons and puzzles. And this brings us neatly to the next game on this list, Sniper Elite 5. Sniper Elite has become my go-to series for non-stop sniper action. I've been playing these games for over a decade now, and every time a new game comes around I have to give it a try. So to no surprise, I enlisted right away and jumped straight to the front lines when Sniper Elite 5 did hit store shelves. As legendary elite sniper Carl Fairburn, we are back on the hunt. Once again we have to turn the odds in World War II, one bullet at a time. This time we are helping out the Allied forces in France, taking Fairburn deep behind enemy lines in some surprisingly large scale levels. While the story isn't the high point of the series, playing the campaign with a friend made it an absolute blast. Cornering enemy snipers or trying to take down a tank together was fun from start to finish. Sniper Elite 5 still plays like the classic games with a bit of sneaking and a ton of gory X-ray bullet camps. This just never gets old, like playing Sniper Elite games in co-op. The only new feature I'm a bit torn on is the enemy invasions, meaning other players could invade your game at any given moment, which led to some pretty interesting fights. The only downside here is that some of these players were pretty high level and did absolutely destroy both of us, so we ended up disabling this feature for the later half of the game. And here's a heads up, Sniper Elite is one of those game series where your choice of difficulty affects the gameplay experience a ton. If you're down for a straightforward arcadey third-person shooter, go in on easy mode and you will have a blast. If you want a more air quotes realistic and challenging experience, go in on hard, where wind, distance, noise distraction and bullet drop affect every shot. Both options can be a ton of fun. Overall, I highly recommend playing your first run with a friend in co-op. You unlock cool stuff along the way, and if you find it enjoyable, you can now use the unlocked weapons and gadgets in single player reruns of the levels. And if you need another game to play with your friends, then check out Payday 3. Payday 3 is an action-packed 4-player co-op shooter that once again, or for the first time, gives us the chance to pulling off heists. If you ever fantasized about robbing banks with your dudes, Payday 3 is here to make your wildest dreams come true. Virtually, of course. But it's best to plan your heists first. Be stealthy like a ninja or going guns blazing. Or a mix of both. And spoiler alert, stealth rarely goes as planned and you end up shooting your way out. But Payday 3 is more than just a clown robbery game. The heists are well designed and the gameplay is very satisfying. On higher difficulties you'll need to work together with your team if you want to succeed. By playing the levels over and over again, you'll level up and gain new skills and weapons. But let's be real here, the only stat that truly matters is how many zeros are in your bank account. And of course, no matter how good your heist plan is, something always goes south, and Payday 3 has some flaws too. First off, there is no real story. Honestly, telling an engaging story about a crew of misfits has so much freaking potential for plot twists and character development. Sadly, the plot is thinner than a single sheet of toilet paper. There is also no offline or dedicated single player mode, which leaves a lot to be desired. It's not perfect, but there is a lot to like here, and as a co-op game it's an absolute blast to play with friends. And remember, Payday 2 is also here, so if you want to get the old school experience, give part 2 a try too. If on the other hand you need some light-hearted classic retro goodness, check out Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. This one is a party starter. Like your favorite pizza, Shredder's Revenge is an absolute must-have. A fun, nostalgia-fueled adventure that every fan of the Radical Dudes has to play. This game does what you expect of it. It throws tons of goons at us, provides some easy to learn and spammable combos, and lets us go wild. You can beat the game in a sitting and can still have more fun with it than you will with most 50-hour open world epics. If you're looking for a new game to play with your friends, make sure to give Shredder's Revenge a try. It's a must play. Thanks to its stellar combat and upbeat tone that makes it worth revisiting levels again and again. It's one of the best co-op experiences I had in a while. Like the next game on this list, the Ascent. Once again we ended up in a hazardous cyberpunk landfill, this time controlled by the Ascent group. After this corporate mega company mysteriously collapses, it's a free-for-all deathmatch for the lead, and we are in the middle of it as a no-name nobody. While the Ascent has a puddle-deep plot, it did enough for me to keep me playing. And what really hooked me was the flawless old-school top-down shooter gameplay. There is nothing more fun than gifting some augmented goons a new eyelet pattern on their gear and blasting rivaling gangs in this beautiful explosive spectacle. The aesthetics and impressive graphics even had me stopping in places just to admire its mind-blowing world design, which is putting some other AAA games to shame. I was really impressed how much stuff was going on in the background of the dystopian city streets while I unleashed carnage on some of these goons. You really feel like you are in a living and breathing dystopian city, and the amazing soundtrack really nails the dark and gritty all-digital future atmosphere.
If you like the games you are seeing here and want to order a physical copy of one of them, then make sure to use my PlayAsia affiliate link in the description down below.
And with that said, let's continue on with our crime spree in the Saints Row Reboot. 1 year after release, my friend asked me to co-op this game. I did enjoy the previous Saints Row games and felt kinda intrigued to give it a try. Let's just say things changed, and not all for the good. In true Saints Row fashion, we'll start at the bottom and work our way to the top. The whole gangster power fantasy got turned upside down. Now we play as a group of, let's say, relatable young adults with overdue student loans becoming hardened criminals that care for each other. The whole story was a bit hit or miss. Good thing though that when we are murdering EDM themed criminals with twirl glow stick shields, Saints Row is a good time. You can shoot while chilling on top of a moving car, and you can unlock abilities that let you do gun fu or jam a grenade down someone's pants and throw them at a horde of goons. Saints Row is always at its best when it cuts loose. That's the kind of madness we need more of. Overall, the game is pretty straightforward, non-stop action from start to finish, with tons of shooting, explosions and much more. It becomes even better in co-op. The main campaign took us around 10+ hours to finish. There were a few glitches along the way, but being able to play the entire experience with a mate by your side truly helped. In conclusion, I was really surprised by the new Saints Row game. While not perfect, you can have a ton of fun with it. If you find yourself in the right frame of mind, it can be an absolute blast. And now it's time to take on zombie hordes in World War Z Aftermath. The zombies have really made a mess of things in World War Z, and it's up to us and 3 other players to travel around the globe to take them on and try to contain the virus that keeps turning people into mindless goons. However, these aren't your typical zombies. They sprint at high speed and move in massive numbers. So massive that they can create pyramids with their bodies to climb up sides of buildings and over any obstacle that is in their path. This makes them a force to be reckoned with. But thankfully we have plenty of guns, explosives and ammo to help take them on. This is one of the main highlights of World War C Aftermath. It has extremely satisfying gunplay. Our everyday carry consists of a sidearm, our main weapon, a heavy gun, and for close-ups we can use melee attacks. There are also some grenades in our back pockets to thin out the horde. Their combat is really intense and only lets up for short bursts, while we and our team prepare to take on the next giant zombie tsunami, while setting traps, managing resources and trying desperately not to blow ourselves up by firing rocket launchers at point blank range. There is a good variety of levels here which are taking us across the globe. Fire up your microphone and find yourself a 4-person crew to play through its brief but fun campaign. However, this is one of the main downsides too. Around this core gameplay there is no real story mode. The co-op campaign plays out in a series of episodes. Each episode represents a city around the globe and has 4 missions, and there is barely any attempt of storytelling. Even so, blasting my way through countless zombies still has lasting charm, and World War C Aftermath is an amazing blast. But we are not done smashing zombies yet, because the final game on this list is one of the best zombie smash hits out there, the Dead Island Definitive Edition Collection. This collection certainly offers plenty of content to sink your teeth into, including the original Dead Island and all its DLC, the sequel Riptide and a 16-bit side-scroller. And playing this on a next-gen console in co-op with a friend is surely the definitive way to hack your way through hordes of bloodthirsty zombies. Stranded in a sun-soaked paradise that is crawling with the undead, we control one of 5 immune survivors and try to make it off this holiday island alive. Along the way we'll be asked for help by a number of survivors, from laying a man's family to rest to recover an old teddy bear. Things are wild on this journey, and right from the get-go Dead Island grants us with instant access to its open world. We can sneak out together and storm the corpse-ridden beaches in search for collectibles, health supplies and crafting materials. And you will need plenty of it, from rusty old nail guns to razor-sharp metallic claws. There's plenty of makeshift weaponry that you can get your hands on across the island to help you dismember those decaying attackers. Annoyingly, many of those melee weapons you will use will become nearly useless after a couple of blows, and the price for the repair is often a hefty one. This can be frustrating, but it does prevent combat from feeling stale, forcing you to use a wide range of weapons to survive. The game overall manages to instill the fear of the undead in you. Bigger undead goons punch you a single time and you are knocked down. Combined with a bit too much backtracking in the later levels, I'm looking at you sewers, it became a bit too lengthy in the middle section. Good thing though, this is still a super addicting co-op game. Playing this game on the next gen console really makes me wonder how it was able to run on a PS3 back in the day. The levels are huge and beautiful. If you find the whole bundle on a budget price, make sure to grab one of the best zombie smashers ever.
And now it's your turn. Which underrated PlayStation 5 game do we need to check out with our buddies? Let us know in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, kick the like button, sharing is caring, and subscribe. But most importantly, have a great day and get the kick out of gaming.
Boost, what's going on here then?
And that is how you kill a well-leopard demon.
And create a hostile work environment.